Greetings, everybody from Facebook, YouTube, Internet World, World Wide Web. This is Oliver from the halfmeasuresroom.com doing another blog. Something I'm going to continue to do since I'm not doing the radio show anymore. For those of you that are new to this, I did a online radio show on blogtalkradio.com for a little over a year. I've been doing the blogging on sobriety for some time now, probably about 6 years, and it's just something that is very useful to me to get this out. Like I've shared in the last video, I just not really much into sharing it in meetings anymore. I really like to just listen and do my best to hear the message. Yeah, a lot's been going on with me lately. It's not a lot I really feel like getting into now. You can go back and look through the blogs on halfmeasuresroom.com, and some of the recent ones that I've written have talked about what I've gone through this past year. So I'm mostly just going to stick with what's going on with me today. I think that's most important and most helpful. If you haven't noticed, I'm outside today. I want to try to change up where I go and have these things to kind of keep them more interesting. Yeah, I had a real hard time finding this place. I wanted to be outside in the shade at a picnic table. I don't know if you can hear the cars in the background, but I'm real close to the highway. This park seemed real secluded. Not a lot of people here. In fact, I don't see anybody. That was what was most important to me, is just to find some place that was quiet. As far as groups of people, I like to keep my anonymity and keep this thing to a silence in some form or fashion, and just keep it to those that are interested, mostly in recovery and staying sober, getting sober. When I did my well, I guess I'll just talk about what's happening with me today. Kind of get through that. I went to a meeting last night here in Austin called Citywide. There was a person there that it's one of those things. It's kind of like an eating meeting. We all get together and have like a potluck dinner. They do cook some certain foods there. This chicken that's really good. I took my daughter. They have child care professionals that watch the kids, and they've got TV screens, video games, and things for them to do, which is really cool. My daughter really likes going, and there's like 400-500 people that show up to this thing. It's almost like a convention, but it is a speaker meeting, and they'll bring in speakers from out of town that have told their stories. You probably find them on, I don't know if you've ever been to xaspeakers.org. That's a great place to listen to speaker tapes. Right here on the computer, and I think you could probably burn them to CDs. There's a guy at my group that's what he does. He likes to burn these really good speaker tapes on CDs, so that members of the group can have their share. And you'll find some interesting speakers on XA speakers. But this person was actually from the show Interventions, which is no longer around. I didn't know that. I used to watch Interventions, and I really liked it. It's mostly about drug abusers, people that are addicted to drugs and have had some big difficulties and problems, and their families come for these interactions with them, and to kind of get them into treatment and stuff like that. But this show was canceled, but apparently to this person speaking is going to be picking back up again. They got a message of that about 7 weeks ago, so hopefully that show will be back on air. I'd like to watch it again now that I've heard the story behind one of the intervention people on there. I didn't realize that some of these people were in a program, which is cool. It really brings me to where I want to get to today. I was thinking, when I was doing my radio program, that it was all about starting off was all about going through the steps. Starting off at step 1 and going through to step 12. And I think this is important for everybody. Not just people that are new, but people that have been around for a while and are continuing to stay sober. Because the 12-step program for me is it's not a program. I really don't like using that word too much. I believe it's a way of life. That's what it's been mentioned, how it's been mentioned in some of the readings that I like. Just to get things straight here and now. I really don't claim this information for myself. For those that have known me and followed Half Measures Room, I do go to literature that's been written, people that started this whole program. That's what's important to me. I really don't claim this as my own ideals, ideas, persona. This is just my personal experience from following the steps and people that have gone before me. So where I was going with that was if you get down to step 12, it talks about continuing this way of life, pursuing these principles, continuing these principles. I really think it's important to continue to work. I don't like that the steps are numbered. I understand why they're numbered, because we want to start off at step 1 and go to step 2 and step 3. You don't really want to start at step 11 and then jump up to step 4. It's one of those things we really need to do them in order, but I just don't like that they're numbered, because we continue to do them. It's just, for me, it's a way of life. It's not a program for the cure-all. This is a treatment, something that we use to set our disease into remission. There's no way of curing alcoholism and addiction. So to get that out of the way, I was at that citywide last night, which was really cool, and there was these people there with these booths set up for literature and CDs and things of that stuff, and there's someone there with a grapevine, a whole bunch of grapevine stuff on how to read the grapevine, what the grapevine is, and they came up with this bookmark that I really liked, and on the back is a quote. It says, "Because of this program, I'm starting to love myself again. I still get urges to drink and drug, but I don't let them run my life. I value good friends today, I value my serenity, and I value my life today." And that's really important, because if sobriety sucked for me, I probably wouldn't be sticking around this long. I'd probably try to go back. That's one of the most important things about step 1. It's one of those things they say it should be worked to the 100% of our abilities. It's the only step that needs to be worked at 100%, which I kind of disagree with that. I mean, I understand the reasoning behind why that was said. What it was said about. But I think we should really put 100% of our efforts into the rest of the steps as well. But step 1 for me, and I might have mentioned this in the previous blog, but step 1 for me, it's all about getting honest with oneself. If I can't go through with step 1 100%, there's really no sense in me moving forward in the program, because I don't consider myself an alcoholic, a drug addict, or I don't believe my life is in shambles. So what's the purpose in me going through the rest of the program if I don't feel like I need that kind of help? And for me, coming into the 12-step program was something that it was my last resort. I reached what they call a bottom. Bottoms are when people go to jail, or someone dies, or they lose their house, and what's most important in their life, to get them through things, and they just don't really see a way out. They call us, people like us, they call us doomed, that there's no hope for us, that we're hopeless, and that we're powerless, that there's no way for us to combat this thing alone. And I think that's what is also important about a 12-step program, because we have what's called a fellowship. But to continue on with that, there's 12 steps for personal recovery. There's also these 12 traditions, which is kind of like a program, a way of life for the fellowship, the organization itself. And I found this, if I can find it, I found this stuff, something I probably mentioned before was, I really like reading pamphlets and other things that are written besides the books. And I find that stuff in my coffee bar at my home group. And this is something that, I really wish I could provide a link to it, but it's just something that I found. And it has who wrote it down here, but I don't know where I can find it. I could probably type it all up on halfmeasuresroom.com so y'all can read the rest of it. But this is the spiritual principles of the 12 traditions. It says the 12 traditions are often referred to as why it works, whereas the 12 steps are how it works. And this is why the program works, I guess, or the organization works. They ensure the continuance of the fellowship of the whole by providing guidelines for groups to evaluate their activities and actions. In critical vein, they are, individually and collectively, humility builders for the group. They ask that the group consider its conduct from a broader perspective, and when necessary, give up something for their overall good. But to go on and so forth, I'm just going to read the principle behind tradition 1. It says, the AA member conforms to the principles of recovery, at first because he must, and later because he discovers a way of life that he really wants to live. And in parentheses is the word unity, which I find that interesting. Tried to think about the reasoning behind that. When I think of unity, I think of a group of people gathering together. But this is talking about somebody that does something because they have to, and then later because they want to. That was definitely true of me. Coming to the 12-step program was not something that I was looking forward to. But before I get into the next reading, I wanted to talk about how, my first introduction to getting sober was, I just didn't want to stop. I was doing a lot of drugs, drinking a lot. Drinking was the first substance that I found use for. And it was all about getting loaded. It didn't really matter what I was drinking or what I was using, as long as I was getting loaded. Certain things tasted good to me. Certain things made me feel better, but they all had the same reason, the same purpose. And I was just getting high, and it got to the point where I just didn't even like being sober anymore. I just like staying loaded, and I was one of the last people to see that this was causing problems in my life. Everybody else knew that Oliver had a problem, and I was the last person to really come to that conclusion. I really thought it was a personal thing for me. I didn't really see how it was anybody else's business as to whether I should be using or not. It just didn't make any sense. But I remember seeing some people when I was in high school, which was when things had really took its turn for me, and I had really just abandoned a lot of things that originally were important. And as you get older, they become essential, and you become responsible. But for me, I just using was my priority, and I would just started abandoning everything: girlfriends, best friends, school, parents, and I just became a loner. Where was I going with that? I really don't know. Oh yes, and some friends of mine in high school, I saw some of them were ended up going to treatment. Their parents were putting them in drug treatment. And so when things got bad enough for me to make a decision to want to try and stop or moderate, I put myself in a treatment center, which at first was very interesting. I got a lot of information about the disease factor, the medical stuff behind it, the physical ailments and things of that nature. But I just didn't really see a whole lot of solution on the way of staying and keeping sober. And then somebody from our program came up, somebody that was a former patient at that treatment center who had graduated and continued to stay sober, was going up there and talking to people. And he sat down and read me some stuff out of one of the 12-step books and told me a little bit about himself and how long he stayed sober and why he wanted to stop and all this. And that to me was essential. That's what I needed to hear. Somebody that had gone through this stuff. All these people in the treatment centers, the counselors and the doctors and things of that nature, they were educated in drug addiction and alcoholism. As far as solutions and personal experience and know-how, they just didn't have it. It was all knowledge, which if you read our literature, if you've read our literature, it talks about self-knowledge avails us nothing. But someone that had gone through it, someone that was just like me, that had felt the way I had and done things the way I had done, really sparked my interest. And that's what took me to the 12-step fellowship. That's where he told me to go, and that's where I've been. But there's some stuff written about this I'd like to read. This comes out of the big book in the doctor's opinion, and it says, people riding their bikes over there. It says, we doctors have realized for a long time that some form of moral psychology was of urgent importance to alcoholics, but its applications presented difficulties beyond our conception. What with our ultra-modern standards, our scientific approach to everything we are perhaps not well equipped to apply the powers of good that lie outside our synthetic knowledge. This comes out of the Doctor's Opinion on XXVII. And, I've read this so many times, but this really brightened my eyes today. It felt like I hadn't read it before. It just happens all the time, I'm always reading the books, and I'll be like, man, I don't remember ever reading that before. Where other stuff, I'm like, yeah, I've heard that before, and I just read through it and skip through it. And there's other things that's just sparks really huge interest. I think on the next page was something else. Yes, here it is. Yeah, it says, we believe, and so suggested a few years ago, that the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics is a manifestation of an allergy, that the phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. These allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all, and once having formed the habit and found they cannot break it, once having lost their self-confidence, their reliance upon things human, their problems pile up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve. That Theyre just, says it. It's not only was I powerless and unable to control my ability to use correctly and drink without, drinking more than I wanted to, without, drinking and drug addiction becoming the most paramount force in my life. I just was just causing damage, and it was damage that some of these things I did without a reason. The only reason was because I wanted to continue with the way I was living, and it just became just my life was unmanageable. I could not manage my life anymore because of the use that I had through alcohol and drugs. It's just I just wasn't eating right. I wasn't talking to people, telling them about what was going on. I wasn't making decisions. I was making decisions on my own, and most of them were centered around getting high. Read one more thing. The NA book. For those of you that are NA, I don't read these books a lot, but I do have this one and the How It Works one that I really like. It's kind of like the NA 12 and 12. I really like that one. There's on page 4 here, I really like this. Is the chapter Who is an Addict. This really goes into another detail. It says, we were caught in the grip of our disease. We were forced to survive any way that we could. We manipulated people and tried to control everything around us. We lied, stole, cheated, and sold ourselves. We had to have drugs regardless of the cost. Failure and fear began to invade our lives. One aspect of our addiction was our inability to deal with life on life's terms. We tried drugs and combinations of drugs to cope with a seemingly hostile world. We dreamed of finding a magic formula that would solve our ultimate problem, ourselves. The fact was that we could not use any mind-altering or mood-changing substance, including marijuana and alcohol, successfully. Drugs ceased to make us feel good. And that was the case for me. Absolutely. It just didn't really even matter what I was using anymore, as long as it made me feel better. I just couldn't deal with emotions, thoughts, decisions, and elements in my life. That was the whole reason I started using it in the first place. That's why I think drug addiction and alcoholism occur the minute we're born. I don't think we were ever normal people. I've met a few normal drinkers in my life. My stepfather's one of them. I may have talked about this before in a blog, but he had gone to some poker party one time, and someone offered him a drink. It was like a mixed drink of Coke and bourbon or whatever, and he said sure, and they brought it to him, and he had a few sips, and it was just way stronger than what he's used to. He's one of these guys, he likes to drink 1 or 2 beers occasionally, and he gave me a call and asked me to come pick him up. So I came and picked him up, and he was just like, oh, his head was spinning and he wanted to lay down, and I just, I couldn't get over that, because for me that was the beginning. Once I started getting that turn on, that the good feeling after having a few drinks, that was the start for me. I liked getting loaded, and I think that's what alcoholism was for me. Normal drinkers, when they start getting that buzz and that feeling, that's when they want to stop. And if they end up drinking too much and getting drunk, it's horrible for them. Or for me, I just loved it. That was the whole purpose of it, and I just look forward to more. The next morning when I had the hangover, I would drink again. Drink a little bit of the hair of dog that bit me kind of deal. And the same thing with drug use, which it seemed a little bit more difficult because drugs were a little harder to find sometimes, and they cost a little more money. And that's where a lot of my stealing came in, because I wasn't, just available to be an employee anymore. Once I got my paycheck, I was out of there. I would quit my job, and then one of those things where I would quit. I didn't really give them like a 2 weeks notice or come in and tell them. The only way they knew that I quit is because I would come in to get my last check after they haven't seen me in a few days. And that's just how my life was unmanageable. It was all centered around drugs and alcohol, and I had no power to stop on my own. It took me going to jail and losing a lot of things before I became willing to give this up. And this is something that I need to remember, on a daily basis, and it's something that I turn to first thing in the morning. I'll mention this, that we're at that 20-minute mark. I just want to keep this down to 20 minutes, but it's one of those things that I think I've already talked about. I'm not one of these guys you've probably heard about these gratitude lists, when you're having problems in life and you think everything sucks, to wake up in the morning and write down this gratitude list, things you're grateful for. And I've just never been much of a gratitude list person, but lately the one thing that's really helped me out is thinking about how bad things could be. Things could be so much worse than they are right now. I've started this new job. I want to do this vlog thing at least once a week and go through these steps. I don't know how often I'm going to be blogging. I really like the blogging part too, which I was doing maybe one or two of those a month. So hopefully I'll continue with that. But for me, it's just looking at things could be so much worse than they are right now, and that's what helps me to remain grateful for what I have today. But thanks a lot, people. I really appreciate y'all viewing in, the ones that are, and I look forward to doing this again soon. Bye. How do I stop this thing? Wait, there it is. Bye.